Welcome to Horror Franchise Wednesday. Let's talk about Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss. Another entry in the franchise that has last or final in its title, and it's not the last one. And you know that because I've already talked about part 4 a couple weeks ago. I've been doing this series out of order. I started with the last one, the remake, and then I went to 4, then 2, now I'm at 3. And next week I will do the first one again because I've already reviewed that movie a couple years back. It was a very quick, hate-filled review because I did not like the movie. My thoughts on that movie have gone up some, so I won't be bashing it the whole time next week. But I'm not a fan of the first Prom Night, to be honest. Still, I've watched it like 3 times now. I'm still not a fan of the first Prom Night. 2, I was lukewarm on. 3, same thing. 4, I thought the fourth one was boring. And the fifth one, the remake, it's not even really a remake. I thought that was just trash. So this franchise, overall, I'm not a fan of. So there's not a single entry in this franchise that I'm like, that's awesome. A lot of people love the first one, and that's fine. You can love it all you want, but to me, it's just not my kind of slasher movie. Now, this is a supernatural slasher, just like part 2, and this is the only one that actually have a bit of continuity from one to the other. We actually have Mary Lou returning as the main villain once again, except this time she's basically Freddy Krueger, dropping one-liners and making puns and jokes and laughing all the time. This is very influenced by Nightmare on Elm Street, just like part 2 was kind of influenced by Nightmare on Elm Street and The Exorcist and Carrie. This one, it seems like the villain is turning into Freddy Krueger at this point. But let's get into the positives. I like that there is some continuity here. It's the only in the franchise, 2 and 3. They're the only ones that actually carry over some elements from the previous. We actually, we're still at Hamilton High. We still have Mary Lou. It's a different actress, but it's still Mary Lou. And so I like that. I like that there's, the same location especially. Like, I like that. It's just like in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. I love that it's Higgins Haven that they open at. It's the same exact location. In this one, it looks like it's the same exact high school. So I love that. I love that they went with the whole killer girlfriend angle instead of just repeating, rinse and repeat part 2 again. Like, oh, who's she going to possess this time and try to become prom queen again? It's not the same story at all. It's just Mary Lou trying to protect this guy who she instantly falls in love with. As soon as she is resurrected somehow, she just attaches herself to this guy and she plays like the psycho girlfriend, killing his enemies, trying to help him out in school, help him out in sports. It's a whole different angle that they're doing here. It's not possession, it's just overprotective supernatural girlfriend. The kills are a step up from part 2. Unfortunately, the kills are cut some, even though this is set on YouTube. What I watched is set uncut. It's not uncut. But yeah, the kills are actually creative. They're memorable. They're probably some of the best in the franchise because they're just funny. She's more playful in this one when she's killing people. She's just having fun.
Girlfriend looks mad, Alex. I don't get mad. I fake. Shit!
And the humor is decent, although it didn't land every single joke, but the humor was actually decent. I was having a good time laughing at the absurdity of this film because it is crazy, but it has some decent humor in it. I had a couple of good chuckles. I think most of the humor just comes from people's reactions to things. Like, just they see something that they shouldn't be seeing. It's not from this world, and their reactions just don't match what you would see in other movies. And I love that this movie decided to take prom to hell. We're spending prom night in hell in the third act, so I thought that was a cool direction to go in. It's something different from the other two, so I really like that choice. As for my negatives, yeah, this has some continuity. Story-wise, it's the same villain, but it's a different actress playing this villain. Not to say that this actress isn't good, I just would have preferred if we had the same actress, because I think the woman in part 2 was better for the role, and this Mary Lou doesn't really seem the same as the Mary Lou from before. Also, the fact that they don't even address what happened between 2 and 3 kind of bugs me, because if you know how part 2 ends, when this one starts, you're just kind of confused the first 5 minutes or so, like, wait, so what happened with Michael Ironside? What happened with those other characters? What's their fate? Did they die? What happened? And why is Mary Lou in hell again? This movie opens up with Mary Lou in what seems to be hell. But it's just her chained and like people are like dancing around her, but she's in shackles and she has to cut herself loose. Like, how does she get here? So it's the continuity from 2 to 3 story wise is shit, but it's at least the same villain in the same high school. And I don't know if it's the quality of this YouTube rip I was watching or if it's the movie itself, but it just doesn't look good. Like the quality of this takes a dip from part 2 to 3, especially. I don't like when they just force a relationship into a movie just for plot's sake. Like, why is Mary Lou so attached to this guy? She just meets this guy by like the 15-minute mark, and she's instantly having sex with him and then instantly killing his enemies and is madly in love with him, and I don't understand why. Their relationship and other relationships in this movie just need to be written better. The writing in this movie is weaker than part 2. Even the camera work and just the way it was shot is definitely a step down from part 2. This was shot by the same guy who wrote part 2, and I read that this was written at the same time as part 2, so this was already written before 2 was even shot. But having Ron Oliver direct this one, I think, was a mistake, and some other guy directed it too. The camera work just was unimpressive, very amateurish, no good style to the film. They have Paul Zaza doing the score again from part 1, 2, and he did the score for 4, but this is the weakest soundtrack of the films. They decided to make it more cartoony. I just didn't like the soundtrack choices. There's even like a rap song they play at one point. Wasn't a fan of that at all. The character of Shane should have been in this movie more. He's like the best friend of the main character, Alex. And when he, dies, spoiler, it's supposed to like set off Alex and be like this emotional gut punch. And it doesn't do shit because he's barely in the movie. Like, they should have had more Shane in this movie and showed more of their relationship together to convince me that they're best friends. There's just not a lot of connection between these characters. No real development here. And I wasn't really crazy about how it ended. I wish it would have been a little bit more climactic and not so kind of typical how it all wraps up. It's kind of confusing what's going on in the third act and how, but whatever. That's supernatural movies for you. When it's supernatural, anything goes, anything can happen. You just gotta check your brain at the door and accept what's happening on screen. Same with 2 and same here. So final thoughts. This is an okay movie. It's a dip in quality from 2, but I like that they bring back Mary Lou. I like the kills in the movie, and if you could see the uncut version, the true uncut version, if it exists, it's worth seeing because there's actually some gore in here. You got a drill kill and a couple of funny other kills and some decent humor in it, but it's just not a great movie, but it does have some entertainment value to it. If you like goofy supernatural slashers or just goofy horror movies, I think you'll enjoy this one, but just go in with low expectations because, like I said, this is not a great movie, but it is kind of so bad it's good. So when it comes to Prom Night 3, consider streaming this, borrowing it from a friend, or renting it at Redbox. So this movie opens up with Mary Lou in hell, and I like that she has the same exact tombstone as in part 2. It's the same exact one, so that was good attention to detail, or maybe it was the same exact one. I'm not sure if they recreated it or if it was the same prop, but that was awesome to see. And she like removes her chain. She's in hell. All these other people are like around her doing stuff. I don't know what's going on here, but she like removes her chain with like a nail file, I think, if that's what it was. But yeah, she just removes it and then boom, her tombstone explodes like in that montage in Jason New Blood, not Jason Lives. But yeah, her tombstone explodes and now she's free and we get like a lot of like Evil Dead, demon, ghost POV cameras going through the halls of the school. There's this janitor who recognizes her from 30 years before, and she kills him with this jukebox that electrocutes him. And whenever you see these electricity bolts and shit in movies, the effect never looks good. It's always cheesy. And when she kills him, she like drops this corny joke because he had like a pacemaker or something, and like his heart explodes. You see that, like his actual heart like shoots out his chest and his eyeballs are gone. And she's like, I'm a heartbreaker or something like that. She's like dropping jokes in this movie. She's Freddy Krueger at this point. The effect of the principal chopping off his own finger when cutting the ribbon, not only is that funny, but that effect was actually pretty good. That looked like a real finger being chopped off. And then, so Mary Lou, when she comes back, her face is like half burnt because that's how, she died in part two. In real life, in 1957, she got caught on fire, so her ghost looks like the way she did when she died. But then after she kills the janitor, she chooses to look like a normal girl who's not burnt. So now, like, why did she choose to look burnt before? And, if she could look normal before, why didn't, I don't know. It's just a question. It's like, why is she looking normal now? Like, why does she need to look so freaking Cropsy-like before, I like how this guy sees this stranger, Mary Lou. He doesn't know who she is, doesn't recognize her, but then just starts making out with her because he thinks it's a dream. Like, whatever. Like, dream or not a dream, let's just see where this goes. And they start having sex on the American flag. The national anthem starts playing over the movie. And then it just hard cuts the next morning. Everyone's walking the halls of the school, and he's just butt-ass naked. Like, no teacher caught him yet. Like, the teachers would be there first. They would wake him up, and his ass would have been in trouble. Like, the fact that he didn't wake up until, like, the bells were ringing for class to start and all the kids were, like, walking around is bullshit. A janitor or some teachers would have caught his ass and they would have woken him up well before school was starting. The weirdest joke in this movie that's kind of cringy and just so cartoony, literally something out of a cartoon, is when he's on the phone with his parents and his mom and dad, when they speak, they sound like the adults in Charlie Brown. I've never seen Charlie Brown. Am I wrong? I think it's Charlie Brown or whatever fucking cartoon it is. Those cartoons, the older ones, where when the adults would speak, it just sounds like gibberish. That's what's happening in this movie. But then later on, we see his parents, we meet his parents, and they sound normal. So, what the hell?
Mom, don't get Dad. Mom, no. Mom, don't get... Hi, Dad. No, Dad, really, I'm fine.
So then throughout the rest of the movie, we got Mary Lou just helping out Alex. At first she's helping him with football. Like, look out, someone's about to tackle you. And then, and that football field doesn't even look like a football field at all. There's like no paint, no lines, nothing. So it's like they didn't even afford a football field or paint. The quality, like I said, took a dip. They couldn't even shoot at a real football field. But then after she's helping him with that, she gives him an A on his paper. She kills his teacher by stabbing his hands with ice cream cones and then drilling him through the head. And you see like a split second of it coming out his head and then it cuts away. So that was a shame. But then the guidance counselor, who seems to have something out for this guy, like she's got some kind of vendetta. She wants to punish him, like she hates him or something. She goes after her next and puts her in like this hair salon thing, that thing that goes over your head and does whatever. I don't know, I've never been to a hair salon, but it like starts pouring all this like acid on her or some kind of hot liquid. And then this football jock is always picking on him, typical character. You always see the jock who just has a big ego, thinks he's the shit. She throws a football at him, and then the football like transforms in midair into something else, like some kind of spike, and it just hits him. And it hits him so hard he flies off the ground into the flagpole, and it's like, like Bob in Halloween, just hovering above the ground. Meanwhile, our character Alex, despite all the shit she's doing, he keeps banging her again and again and again, because I guess he doesn't consider it cheating on your girlfriend when she's not real and she's a ghost. And B, he is covering up for her, this person he just fucking met. I guess the sex is that great. He is covering up for her, all her murders, by taking their bodies and burying them in the football field. And somehow, every time he buries them, it looks like there was never any disturbance to the ground. Like no one ever dug anything up. Like fresh sod and grass over it. Like, I don't know how he's doing that. But really, you're going to bury the bodies at the school, on school property? Like, that's risky shit. How about you take them somewhere else, buddy? We get a dream sequence. Not a fan of that shit, but I do like the way the zombies look. Like, all the victims are coming out of the football field to attack him. And the way they look, I thought was pretty cool. But it was a dream sequence, and why? We get Josh from part 2, Your Mother Sews Socks in Hell. He's back in here playing a cop, a different character, and he's in part 4 as the priest.
You really have a big heart.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Want to see it?
What?
Then we get the scene where his friend Shane is killed, and this is supposed to set him off like, all right, now you've done it. I'm going to try to stop you, whatever it takes. Like, it's this big moment for him, you know, this big change of heart, but doesn't really work because they really did not set this character up as his best friend. There was no moments between them, really. This guy was barely in the film, but when Shane gets killed, it's the goriest death because she's like, you got a big heart, or, you know, something like that, right? Yeah, you have a big heart. You want to see it? And she just punches a hole right through his chest and through the couch, holding his heart on the other end. Very Jason Lives. So that was pretty cool and brutal. Just like in part 2, she says, see you later, alligator. So I like that little connection to part 2. Some good continuity there. And then, you know, he gets arrested. The cops come, they shoot up his house and break down the door. They come in, arrest him, and they give him like the biggest cell ever. Like, why does he need a cell that big? It's just one guy. And poor Leonard, why did he get killed? That nerd who's always checking his watch, you know, very punctual. Like, why does he get killed? And that guy does not look like a nerd. He looks like, you know, a regular dude who they made up to look like a nerd. They just threw big glasses on him and slicked his hair in a way and just tried to make him look nerdy. Like, he's not a nerd. But why kill him? What did he do? Like, he's not friends with Alex. He didn't do shit to Alex at all. And he's just a nerd. And she, like, does what? Wraps him up in, like, film? I don't know how he dies, but yeah, I don't know why poor Leonard had to get killed. His biggest crime was being a geek. Another line I forgot to mention that's in here, not only see you later, alligator, but it's not who you come with, it's who you go home with. That's a line that's in all these movies, 1, 2, and now 3. I don't think it was in 4. Maybe it was, but it's in this one also. So I like that. So Sarah follows them into hell. Like, he goes to the prom, and he's like, you know, don't hurt my friends, just take me with you. So she creates this portal. They go to hell. I guess it's hell. I'm going to keep calling it that. But the girlfriend follows them there, and for some reason, they don't all 3 teleport to the same place. Like, she lands over here and they're over there. Like, why didn't they all go together at the same place? Like, she went to the same portal that they went through almost at the same exact time. So that doesn't make sense to me. And then we see this zombie prom. You know, all these like corpses and some of the victims from earlier in the movie, and nobody's shackled anymore. How come everybody that was at that same location, this, you know, hell from the opening, they are all shackled? Now they're not shackled. They're not prisoners in hell anymore. So what the hell? And then we got the jukebox from earlier. It's like spitting all these, you know, vinyls out like saw blades. I like that. Very cheesy. And I love the line. The best line in this movie is she's like, I don't get mad, I bake. And it's a funny line because they establish her character as somebody who, when she's upset, all she wants to do is bake cookies and shit. And she has a flamethrower, so she's like, I don't get mad, I bake. And she starts like flamethrowing people. So then they kill Mary Lou. They think they kill her by putting this bomb on her. Where the bomb came from, I have no idea. It just was there, and then even though the fuse didn't go all the way down, and it just exploded and somehow, you know, killed Mary Lou. What's going on here? This is weird. And they get in the car, and then they try to run over Mary Lou, and they teleport once again, or they time travel to the 1950s, and then the girlfriend gets killed in the seat. You know, very Terminator 3, just getting a hole punched through her chest, and then they both disappear, and the main character's stuck in 1950 whatever, in hell maybe. And he's like, I give up, you win, and then roll credits. Not crazy about that ending, so yeah. Lackluster ending, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but I like that they took prom to hell, at least, so that was kind of a cool idea. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Prom Night 3. What are your thoughts on Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.